I am Miranda Michaelis, and we are live. And with me, I have the handsome and sexy Danny DeShow.
That's me.
And we are about to do a live response to Lacey Green's Why I Am a Feminist.
It's some classic Lacey Green. I think it's probably the video that shocked and appalled everyone as soon as it came out, because before then I'm pretty sure she was more in the atheist community. Then she decided to turn to the dark side of feminism. For this momentous occasion, I have brought out my Milo Yiannopoulos mug, darling. It's going to give me some anti-feminist powers to do this video response.
Wasn't Lacey Green and the Amazing Atheist good friends at one point? I think they were these.
They did video responses to each other. I think that they actually hated each other, though.
I know that they were like really good friends at one point, but then Lacey Green became a feminist and everything went soft between them.
No, I'm pretty sure they hated each other from the start, but I might be wrong. I did follow. The Amazing Atheist never did a pro-Lacey Green video. Like, he never talked positively about her. The only time he ever did videos on her was when he was responding to her. But yeah, I'd know I'm an Amazing Atheist devotee.
Is there a dog in your house? I thought I heard
no.
Okay.
But okay, that's weird. Anyway, so you ready to get started?
Sure. Let's see. I think this is it. What's that noise?
I don't know. It's coming from outside, though. I'm going to go quickly shut my door. In the meantime, I'll give you a second to get the screen share going.
Okay. I guess present to everyone.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Yes, I can. And I've shut my door and turned off my fan, so if I die of heat stroke, it's all your fault.
Let's see.
The rumors are true.
Pause. Okay. Just quick message to PC Principal. Not the serious discussion shirt. Enjoy. In joke. Just keep going.
I have to come clean. I, Lacey Green, am a feminist. What? You're a lesbian now? Man hater? Hairy armpits?
I mean, feminists do make a big deal about having hairy armpits. I mean, the girls at Tumblr talk about having hairy armpits. Not only would it be the girls on Tumblr, but
I'm pretty sure that Lacey Green has done something about that and has at some point stopped shaving her armpits. So, I mean, she's talked about this like it's just a stereotype, and I don't think at the time that she would have been quite as crazy feminist as someone who is going to not shave their armpits in order to crush the patriarchy. But it is kind of funny that she talks about this like it is a stereotype and then promptly adopts it. I could be wrong about that, though.
No, the interesting part is this. While she acted like, oh no, it's a crazy, silly stereotype, halfway through the video, like, I'm pretty sure that most people have already seen this video a dozen times, but halfway through it, she actually shows everybody how hairy her armpits are. So at first, oh my goodness, this is so ridiculous that we have hairy armpits. Then in the middle of it, she shows everybody that she has hairy armpits.
I actually have no problem with Lacey not shaving her armpits on some levels. Obviously, look how you want to. The only thing that I have a problem with is the whole body positivity thing going so far that they lie to girls and say that, guys aren't going to care. The guys are going to love you just as much. You're going to be able to get a boyfriend even if you just like turn into a horrible mess and you don't shave your armpits. And it's just a lie, and like it's going to hurt those girls listening to it.
By the way, my heater just turned on, like it's like a thermostat. Every time the room gets a certain temperature, it turns on. Do you guys hear that? Do you hear it, or do I need
It's fine. It's fine. Keep it. All right. Ready to keep going?
Sure.
It's so. She's gonna be okay. Those are just stereotypes. I think that feminism is both kick-ass and super.
Oh, pause. Okay. So this is her definition of feminism: a social movement for gender and sex equality. Yeah, I'd actually say that that's kind of correct. It is a social movement that whose stated goals are gender and sex equality. Their methods are to create more inequality in order to counteract inequality in one direction, which is the shittiest method I can conceive of. But I think that is their stated goal, at least. A personal commitment to understanding and achieving gender equality in everyday life. That's just starting to get really vague. I don't even know. So, a personal commitment to understanding and achieving gender equality in everyday life. I think that when they say understanding gender equality, they're starting to imply that in order to be a feminist, you have to believe in some of the crazy things like the patriarchy theory and rape culture, etc., etc. But as far as those definitions are concerned, at least they're not as bad as the belief in the social and economic and political equality of the sexes definition that feminists often give.
Here are a few of my reasons why. I'm a feminist because girls are taught in public school that once she has sex, she'll lose a part of herself. Because women who have a lot of sex are sluts while guys are studs. Amanda Todd.
Stop. Okay. Are girls actually taught that in public school? Like you'll lose a part of yourself as soon as you have sex? Is that a thing that happens in America?
Not for me. No. No, like that, but when I was in Job Corps, stud is what you call a lesbian who looks like a man. Like if there's lesbian and she's like wearing lots of men clothes and she can pass for a man, she's called a stud.
Yeah, exactly. So slut, as much as feminists say it means a man who gets a lot of sex, it isn't. A woman who gets a lot of sex. It is not. A slut is the name that we give to someone who has touched too many penises. Because what is a gay man? This is a point Dr. Random McCann makes a lot. I don't want to steal credit for it, but it's important here. What do you call a gay man who is sexually promiscuous? You call him a slut. What do you call a lesbian who is sexually promiscuous? And like you just said, a stud. It is a double standard, but it's not a double standard because we think that women are bad in any way. In fact, it's the opposite. We think that men are bad. So when a woman comes into contact with too many men in a sexual way, then she's sort of degrading herself, associating with the peasants. She's right, it's a double standard, but it's a double standard because we sort of see men in a negative light and not because we see women in a negative light.
For me, I call men sluts, or like if they have too many sis, or man whore,
Sure, but you put the word man before it, implying that it's not a normal thing for a man to be called, like a man whore, a man slut. Implying that it's not a normal thing for a man to be called.
Well, I call a man like slut, period. But I would call them a man whore, or I forget all the terms though. But I think that there are terms, like degrading terms for men having glasses. I didn't know that there's like one positive term, but I think it's gender neutral, and that is player. But I've heard girls being called a player too. Like some men.
But that's a positive thing. Like you consider a player is like a positive thing. And I think that's what she's talking about. Also, there is womanizer, which again, like you could say, well, womanizer is seen as a positive term, but is it? I mean, it's seen as a negative term in that it's always sort of thought about as this man is corrupting these women, like that the sexual encounter, when there's a man and a woman have a sexual encounter, that's bad for the woman, and it's good for the man, implying that there's something wrong with the man.
Yeah, womanizer is insults, and I think the other one is lady killer.
Yeah, that's even more so. Same thing, but more so.
Alicia Garcia, Charisse Morales, because of the sexism that drove them to end their lives. I'm a feminist because I was...
Pause! men commit suicide more than women. If you're going to say that women committing suicide is evidence of sexism, then you are an MRA. Congratulations. Welcome to the club.
And I did that when it comes to Amanda Todd. I mean, some of the harassment she was getting was sleeping with another girl's boyfriend. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that's a shitty thing to do regardless of gender. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's even if what she was saying was correct, and these were girls who were just shamed for having too much sex, they which they weren't, as you point out. Even if that was the case, then it's still bollocks to say that that is that girls killing themselves is evidence of sexism when you live in a culture where men kill themselves far, far more.
Yeah, I doubt that you would be happy if a man was sleeping with your girlfriend. I doubt you'd give him a high five for banging your girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Have sex would be painful and bloody.
Isn't it painful and bloody for women, though? Did they actually lie about that? For many, it would be painful and bloody. I mean,
it is. So she does actually have a point. So the one time I like Lacey Green is when she sticks to the science. She does actually know quite a bit about sexuality in terms like the biology of it, and she does explain it reasonably well. It's only when she gets into the culture side of things that she goes off the rails. But in this sense, she is right. It is a common misconception that the first time having sex has to be bloody and painful for the girl. It all depends on how well you warm her up.
Yeah, I'm not saying all girls without exceptions. I'm just saying that, I mean, it does happen.
Yeah, well, most guys on their first time aren't particularly good at what they're doing, and so they don't warm the girl up properly. She's tight, and she hasn't been prepared for sex, and her partner is doing a terrible job at it. So that is going to be bloody and painful. But like she points out, the hymen isn't like a thing that you bust through. It's a sort of a small hole that gets stretched, and when you don't warm the girl up properly the first time, it tears instead of just naturally getting stretched from successive intercourse. So she is to some extent right about this.
Terrified because 1 in 4 young women is assaulted in society.
1 in 4, the whole 1 in 4 women, except this time she said society instead of college campuses.
Yeah, she doesn't give a fuck. Like, the thing was bullshit to start with. It's college, 1 in 4 women on college campuses are assaulted. But who cares, honestly? If the statistics are bullshit to start with, why not just expand them? I'm surprised she didn't say 1 in 2 or 1 in 1. Or 3 in 1. Three out of every 1 woman is assaulted. She may as well. She's making shit up anyway.
So asked, what was she wearing? Because male victims of rape are believed since guys want sex all the time.
Pause. Okay. The what does she wearing thing, I'm just going to quickly say something on that. What was she wearing is not something that people say to blame a girl for rape. It is something that people say to try to stop rape from happening. You can give someone a suggestion to help them avoid a bad situation without saying that if it happens, that situation is their fault.
Yeah, there are 2 points I would like to address. One is kind of like what Milo Yiannopoulos said. Did I say his last name right? Yiannopoulos? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. He said, like, when he was with Christina Hoff Sommers, it's that college girls are now underprepared for the real world. That, they feel like they could walk in a dark alley wearing mini skirts, and that, teach men not to rape, like men are not supposed to rape her, even if she's wearing mini skirts and walking down a dark alley,
Well,
and realistically, I mean, depending on what you're wearing, there are measurements you could take to, prevent it, like walking with a friend, not walking down a dark alley, have a dog with you. You know, there are measurements you could take to help prevent it. Not only that, but she talked about male victims of rape. But feminists, from what I could see, I mean, so far I haven't really seen feminists do anything for male victims of rape. Maybe you have, but for me, I haven't seen feminists do a single thing. In fact, I've seen the opposites. I've seen
Yeah.
the opposites for me. I'm talking about me here. I've seen the opposite where a man would talk about how he was raped, and women are saying, well, it's still not as bad as, you know, if you were a woman. This society still privileges you.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I also want to quickly, before we move on, point out that, again, she's talking about assault. Because she just said assaulted, I believe, when she didn't say sexually assaulted. She said assaulted. And if a girl is walking along the street and the guy or a guy is walking along that same street at the same time, the guy is more likely to be assaulted, not less. So it is true that a man is not as likely to be forcibly raped on the street, like someone is not likely to rape. But it is also true that someone is much less likely to, you know, some people are just fucking thugs and they will sort of just see someone and wants to sort of pick on them, push them around, even just beat them up and mug them. There's lots of reasons. Some people are assholes, some people want things from people. People are more likely to feel empathetic towards the female and not do that. I mean, people are more likely, the women are less likely to be assaulted on the street because, I mean, you're not going to try to start a fight with a woman.
Yeah,
statistically speaking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've seen the statistics.
Anyway, right? Because of catcalling and street.
Okay, catcalling. I mean, I've seen. There's this video where a woman was like supposed to be walking around for like 10 hours, and she only had like a 3-minute video from 10 hours of walking, and most of the video was "Good morning, God bless you." You know, it's kind of like "Good morning" is being catcalled. God bless you. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Well, even if we take the worst ones from that video, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what they said, but let's say someone said damn, girl, look at that ass. Even then, is this really what we're worried about now? Like, that is the most trivial bullshit. For a start, it's someone saying something positive about you. I mean, I understand it might make you feel uncomfortable, and that person's being a douche for doing that because I think he knows it's going to make you uncomfortable. But getting the wrong kinds of compliments that has got to be way down the list, doesn't it? I mean, she's got the scary music over it, and she's talking about it like there's some serious fucking issue. Like, sometimes girls get the wrong compliments. Oh, how do you survive?
I'll just accept the compliments, like, thanks.
Yeah, but that's because you're cool.
Harassing, because no, it is not a compliment. I'm feminist because my first boyfriend sexually assaulted me, and when I went to my friends for help, they called me a slut. Because
well, never mind.
when I speak to universities about the absolute necessity of consent, there are people in the audience who laugh.
Maybe it's because most people, I mean, we don't live in a world that has a rape epidemic. We don't live in a world where women get raped and sexually assaulted every single day. The reason why people most likely laugh is because, you know, most people give consent anyway. Not only that, but there's implied consent, where if, you know, you kiss a girl and she kisses you back, you don't need to, you know, you don't need a signed paper. You don't need to say, hey, may I have your permission to kiss you? You know, there are just, I mean, even before, like, humans walked this planet long before the spoken language. I don't know when the spoken language came, but we've been walking this on this planet long before then, and we communicates non-verbally. There is non-verbal communication where you could kind of signal, a woman could signal that she wants to be kissed, and a man could kiss her, and things, move on from there.
But when she's saying that she had a consent class, that she talked about how important consent is, and people laughed. Yes, who the fuck wouldn't? You're going in and saying, guys, did you know that if you don't get someone to consent to have sex with you and then you have sex with them anyway, that's actually bad? Did you know this? Of course people are going to laugh. That's retarded. Everyone knows that. There is not a single rapist who has been deterred by consent classes. They know that when they are forcing someone to have sex with them, that is rape. Everyone knows that, and the entire society hates them because of it. Rapist is one of the worst things that you can call someone. And that's for a reason, because we all revile rapists. Having a consent class implies that men are just all possible rapists, which is bollocks. Very, very few men are likely to be rapists, and very, very few women are likely to be rapists, and very few men are likely to be rape victims, women rape victims as well. It's uncommon is what I'm getting at, and it's reviled. Yes, everyone is going to laugh when you talk to them as though they don't know that consent is required for it not to be rape.
Yeah, and isn't college supposed to teach you things that you don't know already? Like, isn't college supposed to teach you something new?
Yeah.
Because boobs are used to sell everything from burgers to soap, but don't you dare breastfeed them.
She's talking about how our society puts women's sexuality on a pedestal, and she's talking about how much power women have sexually. Women are more inherently considered sexual than men. Men usually have to sort of do something, be charming or something like that. Women are inherently considered to be sexually valuable. She's talking about that as though that is oppression of women. I don't understand that. We put on billboards and things like that ideals of what we would like to look like or like to be like. And when we put a male up there, even forget putting the man up in his undies because he's got a nice body. We have movies about men doing heroic deeds and things like that. We have movies about, but we have these pictures in the media about women just being sexy. That is evidence that women have inherent value, not evidence that they are oppressed. Sexuality is a type of power, not a type of powerlessness.
Yeah. You're very sexy, so you must be very powerful.
That is true, yes.
In the open, because this shocks and terrifies people.
It is like in the movie. I mean, earlier in the video, she just says, "Oh my goodness, it's just a stupid stereotype," and here she is.
Yeah, she did not proofread or the script or anything. This is, holy shit, how do you miss something like that? It's like, no, it's just a stereotype. We don't have hairy armpits, says the hairy armpitted feminist.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like she clearly didn't, I don't know if she wrote the script or not, or if somebody writes all her scripts for her, but they clearly didn't proofread that. You can't just go, "Oh my goodness, that is so a stupid, silly stereotype. That is not us at all." And then just be like, "Oh yeah, come now, I have hairy armpits. That is not a bad thing."
There's restrictions on how women can look and still be considered sexy. There are fewer restrictions on men, and I think that's the point she's getting at. Like, if you want to be a sexually attractive man, there's a lot, you can look a lot worse than you have to be considered a sexually attractive woman. Women are more judged on their looks in terms of sex appeal, just for sex appeal, by the way. I don't understand how that is considered a negative thing for women. That's a negative thing for men. If you've got So men have to do things in order to be considered attractive. They have to be charming. Essentially, their behavior is restricted in order for them to be sexually attractive. For women, it tends to be just their looks. You've seen, I'm sure, a million times that girl who's a complete bitch to everyone, but she's hot enough so people just sort of let her get away with it, and she's still considered really sexually attractive. You don't see the guy who is some kind of a whiny douche, who acts in a completely unattractive way, who is still just, that's put up with because he's good looking. That doesn't really happen. Women are constrained more by society in terms of how they can look and still be sexually attractive. Men are constrained more in their behavior. Which one would you pick? Which is more important? Just shaving your armpits or having to act a certain way around everyone all the time?
I know you're talking about, there's this woman, she was on Celebrity Apprentice. Her name is Aubrey, and she's admittedly like very, very beautiful, but she is perhaps one of the maybe not as bad as some feminists could be, but she is quite so horrible, terrible person. And I think the points, I'm not sure, but I think the points is kind of like that women could kind of get away with being bitchy and terrible as long as they look good. But I don't know. I don't think women would want to be around bitchy women just because they're beautiful. Because as women, we're straight. We're straight sweet for men. But if a man wants to go for the really attractive mean girl, for me, I never understood that. I never ever understood why a guy wanted to go with the really hot, sexy girl who's very, very mean, rude, terrible, nasty. Because in the end, she always ends up hurting Kim anyway. You know, like there's a guy who went to my high school. He dated a very sexy, very attractive girl. He, you know, bragged about her. He bragged about her all the time.
Well, there you go. I mean, I just want to pause there and say that that's why, because he can brag about it, because what is attractive to most people is social status. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But so he was dating this attractive mean girl?
But it backfired on him big time because she got scissors, right? And she cut up all his clothes. Back and not only that, but back in my day, CDs were very popular back then. She scratched up all of his CDs, you know, so she cost him a lot of money. Like, you know, she costed him so much money, you know. Girls, we do not want to be around. I mean, we don't want to be around that mean girl who's really attractive but mean. We stay away from her, you know.
I, in my experience, I mean, it's a bit split. I think that many girls do want to just be around a girl because she's considered attractive, because that sort of makes them feel like they have that same social status. Like I'm hanging out with a hot girl, which means that I'm one of the popular girls, and I'm part of that club of the cool kids. You know, I do.
Yeah, but usually girls like that, usually they are equally just as mean. You know what I'm saying? They are equally just as mean as she is. So for them, her behavior is just normal.
Anyway, we've digressed a little bit. Why don't we get back to Lacey?
Yeah.
I'm not even. You should see.
What? What did you say?
Oh, I was just going to say we've left her hairy armpits up there long enough.
Some of the looks that I get. I'm a feminist because of how much pressure we put on girls to value their appearance above everything else. Because of labiaplasties, boob jobs, hymenoplasties. Because our culture considers it normal to cut off part of an infant's penis. And the feminist.
Yeah, but feminists don't really. I don't see a big feminist movement, nor do I see many feminist videos talking about circumcision. I think Lacey Green did talk about it once, but it's not a feminist hot topic. You don't see feminists bringing it up very often, and you don't see feminists doing much of it. Like like outside of talking, like you don't see feminists pushing for laws or asking for donations to push for laws to help end male circumcision.
You don't see it. And if the West was a civilization that performed female circumcision, then, I mean, well, it wouldn't be. The feminists would have stamped that out pretty much instantly. That you would have used all of their political power, which is significant, and would have stamped out female circumcision. Yeah, it's. I don't understand how she talks about issues like this. Like, she talked about suicide, which she must know affects men more. She talked about assault, which again affects men more. She talks about circumcision, which pretty much in the West pretty much only affects men. And yet she still says, like, this is all because of patriarchy. This is because of the oppression of women. What the fuck is wrong with you, Lacey? This is confirmation bias. Any counter evidence to your idea about the world hating women and supporting men and whatever they do, any counter evidence to that is just going to be written off as, well, patriarchy harms men too. It's totally unfalsifiable. And I know that you know what unfalsifiable means. You know, you used to say that about creationists when you were debating them on the internet. You know what an unfalsifiable position is, and yet you can't see that this is one. Anyway,
I think Lacey Green was talking about male circumcision. I don't think she was talking about female circumcision. And she did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She did actually make a video about male circumcision once, you know.
Well, yeah, I think that feminists tend to pay lip service to it. I don't see a serious movement from the feminists actually trying to end it. You know, there has been more effort by feminists put into stopping man-spreading than there has into stopping male circumcision.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I totally agree with you. That's the impression I got from Lacey Green too, that she was just paying lip service. I don't think she really cares all that much.
No.
Male orgasm in the movies is rated PG-13, while female orgasm is rated R. I'm a feminist because in 2013 there were over 700 bills proposed to regulate a woman's body, and for men, the rightful number, 0.
Yeah, but
Stop.
Women vote for those men, though, and not only do women vote for those men, they vote for people who represents their ideas the best out of all the candidates. They try to vote for men who represents their ideas the best, because there are more female voters than male voters. What did you want to add? Hello, are you still there?
Hello. Sorry, yeah, I had a little bit of a computer problem. Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you. What did you want to say?
Sure. Nothing. No, my computer was just messing up. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, women tend to be voting for these women. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I've seen statistics to the effect that men are in favor of abortion more commonly than women are in America, which is, I mean, I assume where Lacey Green is talking about.
Yeah,
so,
like I've seen more women being very, very vocal against abortion than men are. And the reason, I mean, it's because women still view it as a life of a child, like it's a life, and they're viewed as murder, you know. And not only that, but from my experience, growing up in a religious household and church hopping, I see more women in church than men typically, and women seem to be more religious than men.
Okay, I hadn't noticed that, but yeah. But okay, so the other thing is that we've sort of accepted is that laws against abortion to regulate women's bodies. And that's not really true. I mean, I'm kind of in favor of abortion, but that is not the intent of the people who are against it. Like, so most of it is Christians who believe that as soon as the sperm touches the egg, that there's a life there. They're not regulating, they aren't regulating the woman's body. They are regulating against what they believe to be murder. I think they're wrong But it's not misogyny. They're not doing it to try to be mean to the woman or anything. They're doing it to try to stop what they believe is murder.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. For many Christians, like my mother, my mother is the fundamentalist Christian, and she views abortion as murder. If you talk to any Christian, pretty much like many Christians in the deep South, many of them view abortion as murder.
Yeah.
A feminist because the political body making decisions about my body is over 80% male. Wow. Because men occupy the front rows of...
Okay, just because she's about to go on a big long tirade about different levels of male to female in certain positions, I just want to quickly get out of the way the obvious points. She's not going to mention sewer workers. She's not going to mention miners. She's not going to mention people who work on oil rigs. Those are all dominated by men as well. But for some reason, feminists don't seem to be too interested in trying to get that to a 50-50 level. You don't see the signs like women should be on the front lines of battle. Well, you do to some extent with the battlefield now, but you don't see it about sewer workers or coal miners or oil rig workers. It's always CEOs and politicians. And the other point, of course, is what you were saying before. The politicians, sure, but those are elected positions which are voted for by the majority female population of your country, Lacey. I don't understand how that is considered any kind of discrimination against women. And also, if you look at the statistics of women who choose to run are more likely to get into office than men who choose to run. Sure, there are fewer women who choose to run, but what are you advocating for? Tell these women that, no, your choice is wrong. You have to do what's right for feminism. Fuck your own individual decisions.
I am so triggered right now, you shit lord. Yeah, but I think you're right. Feminists care about female supremacy. That's what it's all about, the glamorous jobs like CEOs and, directors. It's always going to be the glamorous jobs. It's not going to be the crappy jobs that nobody really wants. It's going to be the glamorous jobs,
Mm.
Not just politics, but every industry in the world.
I was just thinking something.
What?
Canada right now has a 50-50 ratio, like right now. And to me, my concern is that Canada is going to go to the shitter, because they didn't go based off skill or talent, so that they could basically have a woman or women, for that matter, who don't care at all, who are not going to be as good, but they're going to have they have 50-50, but because they didn't pay attention to skill or talent, I do think that Canada is going to go downhill. I mean, I could be wrong, but
I kind of agree with you, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily going to go downhill because I think they went by skill and talent second, but gender first. So I think that they won't just fall into a hole tomorrow.
Yeah, but I mean, skill and talent should be more important than gender, because if you put gender first and skill and talent second, then you're not going to have the best of the best of the best. You're going to have people who probably are disinterested, who probably are going to make poor decisions, and I just think, personally, I think Canada is going to go downhill. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think Canada is going to go downhill because of it.
Well, there's a response that people would be giving, which is that, we're not trying to discriminate where we just think that there already is discrimination, so we're trying to push back in the other direction. We're trying to counteract that discrimination. But, okay, so if you institute a system like in Canada, which was basically a quota system, they were Justin Trudeau said that because it's 2015, at the time it was 2015, it is current year, that he was going to institute a mandate, basically, that he had to have 50-50 male-female. What that means is one of two things. Either one, you're not going to change a single hiring decision and you would have picked those women anyway, or two, you are going to value someone's gender over their ability and you're, without fail, going to make your staff worse. If you're valuing something over their ability and it changes even one hiring decision, then that one hiring decision is going to be worse than it otherwise would have been. You're making the system less meritocratic, not more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because if those women don't care or don't take it all that seriously, if they don't view this all that important, if they're not all that good, then Canada could be headed to an economic collapse, perhaps. I don't know, but
that seems a bit extreme. But I definitely think that that it is going to negatively affect their the running of their country. How could it not? Unless you're saying that the people running the country don't make a difference. Then, of course, by making the system less meritocratic and hiring people who are going to be worse, not because women are worse, just because if you put a system in place that prefers gender over ability, you're going to get a worse candidate or a worse person in each position than if you had a system that values merit first. But yeah, it's going to make their government run worse. I don't know if it's going to be the dystopic scenario that you're describing though.
Yeah, we agree that merit should come first before gender or even race. We should always prioritize how good a person is and if they have enough experience.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Cool. Yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I wasn't going to say anything else. Keep going.
Jobs! Women only hold 1 in 4 STEM jobs. We own 6% of TV stations.
Yeah, but women don't want to work in STEM. I mean, they've been pushing very, very hard to get women into STEM. STEM prefers women way over men, and they still have a hard time getting women. Women just don't want STEM jobs. And this is the weird thing about feminism. Feminists would complain about women not being into STEM, but they themselves don't go into STEM.
No, they went into feminist theory rather than physics because they thought that bitching about men was more fun than learning about electrical engineering or something like that. So, yeah, if there is a problem, then it's them. They are causing it.
Yeah, it's not like if feminists really, really cared about there not being enough women into STEM, they could stop talking about feminism and just get a college degree and just get a system. Like, how come Lacey Green and Francesca Ramsey and Anita Sarkeesian, how come they're not into STEM right now doing STEM work?
Yeah, lead by example.
Yeah.
5% of executive positions in the media. Because when I was younger and I took on a leadership role, all the adults in my life said, "You're being bossy." And
men get called bossy too. You know,
yeah.
Bossy is gender neutral. So if you're being called bossy, it's probably because you actually are bossy.
Yeah, also, Lacey Green, just to be fair, you are clearly a cunt. So maybe they just didn't want you in charge because you're a cunt. I know that sounds harsh, but like clearly.
Let's not forget that sneaky little pay gap by the time
the pay gap has been pretty much debunked already.
Yeah, I'm not. Let's not even pay attention to the pay gap. Just
years old, you will have made $450,000 less than a man in the same exact position. That's like a fancy ass house, a truckload of chocolate bars, or
okay, stop. So, women made less than. This is technically not the pay gap, so I'm going to comment on it. So women made 400 and whatever thousand. Well, sucks to be them. Why didn't they work harder? Like, how can you be sure that this is because of discrimination? How do you know that? Like, when you see a statistical difference, you understand, feminists, that this is not necessarily discrimination. And I know that you understand this because when you see a statistical difference in, for example, left-handed and right-handed people actually have slightly higher IQs and make a bit more. Is that because of discrimination against right-handed people? No, it's because statistics is complicated and you're going to see statistical correlations based on different tendencies people have, and it doesn't, like, it's totally irrelevant that you see these statistical things on a broad scale. There are things that you can do to try and see if there is discrimination in terms of sex. Like there was a study where they put out applications to jobs with male and female sounding names on them and look to see whether the males get more responses or the women. And I think in the one I saw, the males got more responses, which would be perfectly good evidence of sexism in the hiring practices of those companies. I'm not saying there's no sexism against women, and I'm not saying that there's no way to determine it. I'm just saying that statistical differences, these broad statistical differences, fail at hitting anywhere near that issue. Rant over.
Huh? What did you say?
I just said rant over.
Oh.
I'm even surprised by it. At my first job, I learned that my less qualified male coworker was making almost twice as much as me.
Maybe he has more experience than her.
Maybe. Also, first of all, this is an anecdote, but second of all, maybe he has the same experience but was better at it, or maybe he just negotiated for a higher salary. There's enormous amount of evidence that shows that women are less likely to negotiate for a higher salary. Well, okay, so that would explain a significant amount of this difference that we see. Fuck, we're talking about the wage gap. I tried not to, but oh well, it's got me. Yeah, so there are a lot of other reasons that the discrimination, other than discrimination, that the difference could be there. And I don't understand why you would just ignore all of that, unless you were trying to push some kind of agenda, but couldn't be that.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist because the media told me that women are my competition. Destroying
A man competes against men. You know, competition against men is very normalized.
Yeah, I don't. The media tells you that women are your competition. If you're talking about money, we're talking about a capitalist society. Everyone is your competition. Like, that's the point of capitalism. It's we produce better goods and create a better world by having competition between different companies and people for positions and markets and products. It's just, yes, women are your competition. So is everyone. It's just the point of it. It's not bad. Competition is not some evil thing. Well, basically, at this point, she's being some kind of a commie, so that's a whole other thing, that feminism is heavily related to being a commie, but it's what's happening.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about the how men ask for, are more likely to ask for a raise than women. That's actually partially biology, because men have like genes, I think, that make them more likely to take risk.
Yeah, well, the point that I like to make about that one is testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is reasonably well-versed, or even vaguely well-versed in how biology and chemistry works in terms of hormones, would agree that if I was to inject someone with testosterone, that they would become more aggressive while that is in their system. I mean, it's something that's used so that for bullfighting, for example, they'd sometimes inject them with testosterone. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that everyone would agree that if I was to inject someone with testosterone, they would become more aggressive and assertive as well, because assertive is just aggressive in a positive way. So they'll become more assertive if you get injected with testosterone. Now, we also agree that men naturally have higher levels of testosterone. So how the hell could anyone say that men are not going to be naturally more assertive? They naturally produce more testosterone. We agree that testosterone makes you more assertive. How do you miss this? It seems like the most clear logical progression in the world.
Yeah, men are more likely to take risks, so men are more likely to test for a race because of that. testosterone, making them more likely to take the risk and ask for
I mean,
it, while women are more likely not to say anything.
yeah.
My friendships with them for almost 20 years because gender roles, because that one size fits all binary that shoves us into boxes and erases who we are. I'm a feminist because I'm
one size fits all, so it's shoving us into boxes. That is terrible. Like, imagine if you lived in a society with a big, powerful ideology that was telling everyone that one group is made up of perpetual victims and the other group was made up of perpetual perpetrators. Wouldn't those gender roles be just highly destructive? In case anyone didn't quite get that, that is what feminism says. So just to ruin the subtlety of my point there.
When it comes to what you said about gender roles, I mean, it's already been said multiple times, but they did an experiment with chimpanzees, I think, and they had female chimpanzees and male chimpanzees, and the female chimpanzees were more likely to like the female toys like dolls and stuff like that, and the male chimpanzees it's like toys for men. So it's not like we have a society trying to brainwash women to going a certain way.
Yeah.
Men and women have different brains. There's a difference between male brains and female brains. Not to mention that men have more testosterone and women have more estrogen. So of course that's going to affect behavior. And, nobody's born with a clean slate. Nobody's born with a blank slate.
No, that's true. And I think that ultimately what she's doing here is making an is-ought error, which is, it's a philosophy thing. It's David Hume specifically, but it's basically when you mix up the way the world is and the way the world ought to be. So she is taking the fact that someone would say, well, men are more likely to be more assertive. And she's taking that to mean that someone is saying that men should be more assertive. And that's not it. It's acknowledging that there is a difference is not the same as saying that where there isn't so much of a difference, we should advocate for there being a difference. I would agree with her that if a woman is highly assertive, that doesn't mean we shouldn't tell her, no, stop being so assertive, woman, you're not falling into your box. That is not what people are saying when they say that there is a difference between men and women. We're not saying people ought to be certain ways. We're just saying that it does seem that there is a way that they do tend to be, so we shouldn't be so surprised when it shows up in the cultural statistics.
Yeah.
Best friend a pussy and it tore him up for weeks. And I realized the worst insult was to be compared to a woman because boys are shamed for being emotionally open. Because that's a girl.
Okay, stop. Sorry, I'll never call you a woman then, Lacey. You're a man. You're a big manly man. You're welcome for the compliment.
Yeah. I missed what she just said, unfortunately. Wait, what did she say?
Being emotionally open, because that's a girl thing, and womanhood is weak. Never mind the fact that it was most likely a woman who pushed your body out of her vagina. I'm a feminist because my father never once did the laundry, made dinner, or cleaned it.
Okay. Okay, so I just want to go back to the point, that women are associated with being weak because they tend to be weaker. You can say, well, it's most likely a woman who pushed your body out of her vagina. Yes, it is painful to go through labor. That is true. To give birth to a baby does take both some physical strength and also some fortitudes, like that kind of strength, like you have to deal with the pain. That being said, if you're talking about in the general case, who was more likely to be stronger, any given woman or any given man? The man is more likely to be stronger, so the association with women and weakness is at least based on something, you've got to admit.
Yeah, totally, because I think it's from upper arm strength. Men, I think women have women have 60% of the strength that a man has. I'm not sure, but I think it's 60% of the strength. I'm not sure of the science though.
Yeah, again, I just want to point out that this is not the same as saying that women ought to be weak and men ought to be strong. I'm a pretty skinny ass dude, and I don't know, there are girls who are surprisingly strong for girls. This is not saying that there's anything wrong with that. You can be a deviation from the norm, and that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with being, abnormal or special, depending on how you want to look at it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just there is something wrong with saying that because we're not going to say people ought to be different, that we're therefore not going to say that they are different, because they are. Like, there are differences between men and women. Not that there should be, just that there are. And it's unavoidable. It's also not to say that there shouldn't be. Like, there is no problem. It doesn't cause any actual problems, the fact that there is a difference between men and women. It just makes people different, which is fine.
Shit, this is off topic, but it's as hot as hell right now in my room. I can't stand the heat.
It's hot here too. But yeah. Let's get through the video just so I can turn on my fan and open my door again.
Yeah, I need to turn on the fan too. I'm hot.
He helped. My grandpa told me I was out of my damn mind. Wow. Out of my mind. Am I taking crazy pills? I'm a feminist because people still say that asexual, bisexual, and trans folk don't exist. I'm a feminist.
Okay, asexual, yes. I don't. Okay, that does exist. Like, there are people who are not interested in sex. I mean, eunuchs, for example. Of course, asexual exists. Bisexual, well, it depends what you mean. Everyone's somewhat bisexual. If you're saying that you're entirely straight or entirely gay, you're saying you've never looked at a member of the sex that you're not usually attracted to and gone, damn, actually, that's kind of nice. You never in your life. If the answer is that you never have, then okay, I stand corrected. But I don't think that's the case. I think that everyone's at least a little bit bi. So. And the other thing is, I know that she hasn't said it, but I would suspect that she would be saying that the people saying that bi people don't exist would be mostly from, like, the het straight white males, cis straight white males. In my experience, the only people I've heard say that bi people don't exist have been gay men, just saying, like, who have been annoyed that. I think they've been worried that a dick that they suck might actually have been in a vagina at some point. But yeah, so in my experience, the only people who have said that have been gay men. So unless you're going to argue, Lacey, that gay men are the establishment, then I don't know why you're saying that it's some kind of accepted thing amongst lots of people that bi people don't exist.
Gay lesbian women too. Like, I hear that lesbian women saying the same thing, that bi people don't exist.
Yeah.
Marriage is a no-brainer because in 34 states it's legal to discriminate against someone who's transgender. Really? And I'm feminist because
we paused on the armpits again. Okay, I'll make this quick. Okay, it is legal to discriminate against someone who is transgender. That is almost a good point. See, I'm a little bit more libertarian. I think you should be able to discriminate against people because of race and gender in your place of work if you want. I think that I would not go to your business if I find out that you're discriminating against race or gender. I would, as an individual, refuse to patron. But I don't think that the government should get involved in that. However, if we are going to have a society that says that you can't discriminate against women, for example, or discriminate against black people, for example, in your business, I guess it's true we shouldn't allow people to discriminate against trans people either. So kind of a good point.
I'm not, are feminists very, I know that the left are, I know that social justice warriors are doing everything that they can to be trans, but I'm not sure if feminists themselves, like if a feminist organization is doing anything to help the trans. I could be wrong, but I think that that's more of a social.
I think that they are, but there's a little bit of a split in the feminist community. By far the largest group is the ones who are pro-trans people, and they think trans people are the next group that is being oppressed by society and that they're going to stick up for them. And there's another group of feminists who think that trans people don't exist. And I think that the reason that there's that group that think trans people don't exist in the feminist community is because if you're going to accept that someone can be trans, so like someone can naturally identify as a woman despite having a male body, then you're essentially admitting that there are characteristics that men have and characteristics that women have for someone to be more of a woman on the inside. You know, the idea of feminism was meant to be that men and women are exactly the same. Like that's what you've been arguing for before. If men and women are exactly the same, how can I be have a male body but be a female on the inside? I thought on the inside men and women weren't different. So I think that there is an inconsistency with feminism in the trans community, which is why there's a group of feminists who are against trans. But as to your question, I think no, for the most part, feminism is pro-trans.
There is a set of feminists who hates the trans community. You know, like if you are a female and you transition to a male, then you are misogynist against women, and you are a woman hater, and you've internalized misogyny and all that good shit.
It matters! And LGBT folks, women, and particularly women of color, hardly ever have their stories told on screen. I'm a feminist because I believe that the world should be safe.
So, LGBT folks and, okay. I wanted to say two things about that. One, having a large amount of media depicting straight relationships as opposed to gay relationships, well, if there was a market, if gay people were clamoring for more gay relationships on TV, then they would get them because capitalism. They would, like tomorrow, if there was a market for it, it would be filled. I've said I don't understand a lot of these things, and when I say I don't understand, I really mean you're being an idiot for pretending you don't understand. So, Lacey, you're being an idiot for pretending you don't understand that the reason that there are fewer gay relationships on TV is because gay relationships are obviously not what even the gay community is asking to be depicted. The television and media isn't necessarily going to show us the most common thing in society or something that's statistically representative of different groups. It'll just be kind of what people want to watch, and there's nothing wrong with that.
The reason why I think that you don't see that many gay people on TV is because even in America, gays make up, I believe that gays make up less than 1% of Americans. I'm not sure if it's less than 1% or less than 2%, but I'm quite sure it's less than 1%. And I think that the purpose of TV is supposed to, give people a story people could relate to, something that they could find interesting, but it's supposed to mimic everyday life, something that you could look to and identify with that character, relate to that character. And many straight people are not going to identify with or relate to a gay character.
Well, I think even the gay community is not generally clamoring for more gay people on screen, or at least they're not doing it with their wallets. They're not. If there was a lot of money, if there were a lot of people who were willing to pay for media that had more gay relationships in it, then more media with gay relationships in it would be made. Obviously, there aren't. Even the gay community. I mean, Elton John mostly has never done a song about a gay relationship. He does love songs a lot of the time about straight relationships. Why is that?
Because most people could relate to it and identify it, and most people cannot identify with being gay.
Yeah, I think it's also that it's an aspect of culture. It's not necessarily what is normal in your society. I mean, even though being straight is normal in the society, it's much, much more common. But even if it wasn't, then even if it was more common to be gay, if people wanted to watch straight relationships more than they wanted to watch gay relationships, then there's nothing wrong with that. Like, just let people watch what they want to fucking watch.
And I think it has something. One thing that I've noticed from at least some social justice warriors is that when there is, like a lesbian relationship on TV, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, women are sex objects. How come it's women and how come that they are doing all these sexual things? We gay people are not here for your sexual fantasies. And like when you have like a gay man, it's like, oh my goodness, he is a heterosexual white man. How come it's not a gay black man? How come it's a gay white man?
Yeah, you can't please them. They'll never be happy. But that's the point. If you could please them, then they would lose their political power. As soon as the social justice warriors stop bitching, all their political power is gone. So they have no incentive to ever be satisfied with any effort that you make. So that's the lesson. Never try to appease the social justice warriors. It will never work.
Yeah, totally hear you on that one. It's kind of like the fat Barbie doll, where they finally put out a fat Barbie doll, and there were social justice warriors saying, she still looks too skinny to me. She's not fat enough.
Yeah. All right. How long have we got? 1 minute to go.
Everywhere, because half the girls in Yemen will become child brides, because 65%.
What are feminists doing about that?
Oh no, there are feminist organizations who are legitimately working on that. I don't want to. So, Lacey Green's brand of feminism is certainly not the brand of feminism that is obsessed with manspreading, etc., which is the larger brand of feminism at the moment, is not. That being said, there are organizations that refer to themselves as feminist that are legitimately doing work for girls who are in legitimately sexist societies. So yeah. I think that there are some feminists doing some good work. I would just argue that they're under the wrong umbrella.
Yeah, it's just like I noticed that not Lacey Green, but Anita Sarkeesian is having a new video project. I don't know what it's called. And the Amazing Atheist had I forgot what it's called. Oh, people actually daring to help women. And it's kind of like, now, it's actually a feminist organization, so I'll give it that. It is a feminist organization, but look who's helping them. Look who's helping them. It's the Amazing Atheist. It's Sargon of Akkad. You have all these anti-feminists helping a feminist organization to help raise money for women in the Middle East who really needs it.
Well, that's because they are willing to put their political disagreements aside, because the actual goal of this organization, whether or not it calls itself feminist, the actual goal there is a good one. So these anti-feminists say, well, is some legitimate harm here, there is some legitimate sexism, so whether or not this organization calls itself feminist is worth supporting. And so they're willing to put their politics aside. Now, Anita Sarkeesian is not, and I would say that Lacey Green is pretty much in the same community as Anita Sarkeesian. Anita Sarkeesian has actually come out against this project, saying that it amounts to harassment. The Amazing Atheist talking about, the Amazing Atheist trying to raise money to actually help women is harassing Anita Sarkeesian. And that is what I mean by the two different ilks of feminism. There is the group of feminists who is complaining about manspreading, etc., that Lacey Green and Anita Sarkeesian are all part of. And there are the feminists who are actually working to improve the lots of women in legitimately oppressive societies. Now, I still disagree with them on many issues, like the feminists who are actually trying to improve the lot of women in third world countries. I still think that the answer is not feminism. The answer is egalitarianism. However, I support their actions and I support what they're doing there. That is all really positive stuff. But I think it highlights the counterpoint between the Anita Sarkeesian, Lacey Green brand of feminism and the kind of feminism that the Amazing Atheist is, the charity that the Amazing Atheist is supporting, is advocating for, which was what I was saying before when you were saying that feminists don't help women in third world countries. Well, some do, just not the Lacey Green style feminists.
The Brazilians believe that a woman who dresses in revealing clothes deserves to be raped. Because in Saudi Arabia... No. Okay. Woman who dresses in revealing clothes deserves to be raped. That is an opinion that has been espoused by
people in the Islamic world. That's true. But you're talking, essentially what she's doing here is displaying very clearly that there is no sexism left in the West. Not really, and not against women. Because she's counterpointing like things like catcalling as the things that she's complaining about in the West, and then advocacy of rape in the Islamic world. This is clearly demonstration of the fact that the West, that the complaints of feminism in the West are bullshit. Listen to the differences between the things you're saying, Lacey.
Women still can't vote or drive. I'm a feminist because in every corner of the world, every day, women's bodies are used as a battleground in wars started by men. Raped, beaten, sold into slavery, mutilated, burned.
And what happens to the men in those society, Lacey?
They die. They get sent off to wars.
Yeah, they are forced to go fight in wars under pain of death, and then most of the time die in those wars anyway. So, I mean, they'll often refer to things like Boko Haram, and people say this is terrible sexism against women. All of this feminism is needed because Boko Haram enslaved all of these girls. They took them as child slaves, and that is terrible. But what happened to the boys? Where they got those girls from, there were equal numbers of boys. They killed them all. And most people don't even know that because our society values women. Like, if bad things happen to women, everyone rushes to protect them. Like, that's the impulse in a lot of people, especially in men. This is not evidence of sexism against women. It's evidence of the horrificness of so many of these ideas in the Islamic world. And if anything, it is an expression of the gender discrimination against boys, not against girls.
Yeah, it makes me think about our border between Mexico, because to me, I think this is a bit related, because from what I could perceive, when we were shooting the Mexicans to keep them from crossing the border, you kill a Mexican man from crossing the border, nobody seemed to care. But if you try shooting a woman, everybody's going to care, and it's going to be like on the media, it's going to be on the news, everybody's going to talk about it, you're going to be hated, because, women do seem to naturally have more value than men.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist because when I dare to get pissed off at injustice, I'm just another angry feminist who's on her period.
Well, you really do just seem like an angry feminist. Like, we do have to deal with lots of angry feminists complaining about cats calling and complaining about manspreading. If you don't want to seem like another angry feminist, then be much more like Christina Hoff Sommers. Nobody's, not as far as I know, but nobody complains about Christina Hoff Sommers being an angry feminist. In fact, even there are men from MGTOW community who like her. I'm just saying.
I also want to point out what a non-response this is. Like, she's saying, when I point out discrimination, I'm called an angry feminist. Okay, so you do realize that the people who are angry at you, Lacey, are not angry because you are pointing out injustice. It's because they don't believe that what you're pointing out is unjust. They think that you're basically finding problems where there are none. Are you responding to that at all, or are you just going to complain that people don't agree with you?
I stopped at a good spot. Look at her face.
Yeah, that is the next point.
I'm sorry, but her face right now is so crazy. I'm sorry, but this was a great stopping point, because she looks like really psychotic right here.
Well, for once, you can see on the outside how she feels on her face matches the psychotic things that she's saying. For once.
I'm a feminist because of the reality that there are people who would take these words more seriously
if they were coming out of my mouth.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Wait. Think about how much hell Steve Shives gets. I mean, I think okay, Lacey Green gets hell, Francesca Ramsey gets hell, but Steve Shives is a man and he receives a whole lots of hell. People are very, very, very severe when it comes to him. So no, absolutely not. When a man is a feminist, he is called a mangina constantly. People make videos against him too. I am sorry, but hell no. People do not pay more attention to this crazy nonsense when it's coming out of a man's mouth. That is complete bullshit.
Yep.
Wanted to say something?
No, you said it all. Totally based.
Oh, okay.
Most of all, I'm a feminist because I believe in gender equality. My eyes are open. My mind is active. I know you're not there yet.
She sounds like she's in a cult.
Yeah, she does. Well, to be fair, she's in a cult.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks for supporting me here on Sex Plus Babes. I would like to know, are you a feminist? Tell me why
No.
or why not down below, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.
Ah! Okay, well, I have seen that before a while ago, but I'd forgotten how dumb it was. I think I'm actually slightly stupider now, having watched that. I should probably go drink heavily to forget that I ever had to watch that. But yeah, so at the end there, she's saying, "Are you a feminist?" Did you provide a single reason to be a feminist, Lacey? You pointed out things that would make me call myself an egalitarian, like problems in Islamic countries where women are discriminated against. And you pointed out complete non-issues in the West that make me think that you are insane. But you did not give a single reason to call yourself a feminist. Again, like, even if it's a very tricky thing because we're essentially talking about language here. We're talking about why you'd call yourself a feminist. Even if I agreed with all of your points, that would make me call myself an egalitarian still, not a feminist. Why are you focusing on females unless you're basically just a traditionalist talking about women as victims and the men need to come save them? You're no different from the old-fashioned sexists of the past.
Yeah.
Lacey.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Danny. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I mean, I get a hot and sexy New Zealander on my show.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure, Ren. And yeah, I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, it's always good to have you in. We're both hot. It's hot here.
In both senses.
I mean, I need to turn on the fan because this heat is just. I shouldn't have worn long sleeves. I made the mistake of wearing long sleeves, and is that my computer?
I think it is your computer. Yeah. That being said, I think we're about done, so you can probably take that call.
Yeah. So bye, Danny, and bye, everybody.
Bye.